second grade. I am so excited to see you again today, and I bet you notice I have the same chart up that we were working on yesterday. That was not on accident, my friends. We are continuing to add on to our learning from yesterday and push ourselves to be a little bit better measurers than we were yesterday. We went on a scavenger hunt. Raise your hand if you found some extra things around your house or around the school or our classroom yesterday to add on to our chart that we already have. Yes. Awesome. You know what? I found something else too that I forgot to share with you yesterday. I was on a scavenger hunt myself, and I went to go grab a piece of gum, and I pulled it out. And now, friends, I don't know about you, but now I look at everything and I wonder, wonder how big that is. You guys do that same thing? Well, I pulled out my little piece of gum and I thought to myself, it's about 1 centimeter long or wide, whichever. It's a square, so it's both. But look at that. My gum was about 1 centimeter wide, and I used my body benchmark to figure that out. I did not have my centimeter ruler with me, but I did find it. I hope that you all start to kind of go that way too and start looking at everything with a measurer's eye. Today, we are going to continue estimating the length of an object using our body benchmarks, but you are actually going to be thinking about objects and thinking about how many of those pinkies, how many of those thumbs, or how many of those arm lengths are they long. And let me show you my first example. Now, I have to tell you, friends, I'm kind of stingy with my stamps. You can see why. They're Peter from the snowy day. I just love them. And I love my Peter stamps, and I don't like to waste them. So I'm going to show you my Peter stamp here, and we're going to think about how many pinky fingers it's going to take me. Now, I could do a thumb. It's about a thumb tall. Okay, so it's about 1 inch tall, but I was curious how many pinkies wide it was. So I started measuring 1 pinky, 2 pinkies, about 3 pinkies long. So if my stamp, and I am going to draw it up here, if my stamp, and my stamp is a little square with a frilly edge because I'm kind of stingy with my stamps. Sorry, guys. My stamp, I'm going to use my body benchmarks, and then we're going to compare that to our actual measurements. So that's the next step we're going to do today. I'm all over the place. We're going to do 2 different things today, different than yesterday. 1, we're going to look at objects that are more than one pinky, more than 1 thumb, and more than 1 arm length, and figure out how many of those we're going to use. And then we're going to use that information to tell us about how many centimeters, about how many inches, or about how many feet long that object is. And then, third thing, we're going to double check our estimate with our ruler, okay? And we'll see if we are correct or if we're way off. And if we're way off, we might be asking ourselves, did I measure correctly with my body benchmarks, or did I measure incorrectly with my ruler? We don't want to be way off either way, because then we would be doing something wrong along the way. So we're going to keep keeping an eye out for that as well. So our stamp. Now, when I measured my stamp, I asked myself and I asked you all, how many pinkies wide, or how many pinkies long is it? My pinkies are my unit of measure. They're my body benchmark, okay? And we said there was 1 pinky, there was 2 pinkies, and there was 3 pinkies long. So about how long should my stamp be? My pinkies, are those measuring my inches, my feet, or my centimeter? Yes, if I look up at my body benchmark chart, it's my centimeter. So my stamp should be about, not exact, we are estimating, about 3 centimeters long. And I'm not going to measure my picture because my picture does not actually show my stamp. I'm going to show you my stamp and show you how I will use my ruler to measure that. Now, am I going to look at this top one? No, why not? Those are inches, goose. Okay, I'm going to use my centimeters, and I can look right there to see that unit. I'm going to start my thing right here at my 0, and I look at my length, and it's a little over 2, but you can see it's not terribly far from my 3. My pinkies are a little bit bigger, okay? So maybe I should remeasure. Should I remeasure? 1, what do you notice, friends? 2. Was I being very precise the first time? No. I was actually closer to 2 pinkies than I was to 3. How did my self-checking my centimeters, how did that help me go back and know to double check my body benchmarks? It was closer to 2 than it was to 3. So I knew I must have done something wrong. Now, it's not exactly 2, is it? It's a hair more than 2, but it's pretty close. And I had to fix that, didn't I? And I didn't just fix it when I wrote it on my centimeters. I went back and I remeasured using my body benchmark. We need to be as precise as possible when using that, so we are as close as possible. We want to make the best estimate, and the best estimate is done with as precise of measurements as possible. Using that precision, being careful with our measurements. I know you guys are going to do a great job with this today. Miss Baker's already on a roll, aren't I? So, instead of it being almost 3 pinkies, it's actually almost 2 pinkies, which gets us to about 2 centimeters long. Now, I've got something else. I stole some toys from my children. Does anybody else have one of these cars at home? Yes, okay. These little Matchbox cars, Matchbox cars, or Hot Wheels, whatever. I grabbed one of his little cars. I asked him first, okay. But do you think this is going to be a pinky measurement? Or am I going to want to use one of my thumb measurements? What do you all think? Thumb? All right, we'll do our thumb, okay? So my second car, or my second measuring tool, is my Hot Wheel, my toy car or toy truck, and this I'm going to measure my thumb. Now, if I'm measuring my thumb, how many thumbs long am I measuring? Am I measuring my centimeters? Am I measuring my inches? Or am I measuring my feet? I'm measuring my inches, right? That's my thumb, my body benchmark for my thumb. So I'm going to say if it's so many thumbs long, then it must be so many inches long. Let's see if I can be a little bit more precise this time, eh? Okay, and you all can do the same thing with objects around your house. I'm going to give you a chance to do that later, okay? So I'm going to measure, remember, my thumb length is this part. Now you guys might have to use your whole thumb. I'm going to use just this part of my thumb. 1, and I can see, I'm trying to be as precise as possible. It's ending right here on my car door. And I measure the second one. It's not exact, but it's about how many? 1, 2. It's about, not exactly, that's why it's an estimate, about 2 thumbs long. So about how many inches long should it be? It should be about 2 inches. How do I check that? You guys are so smart. I've got to get out my ruler, don't I? So I'm going to go to my inches side, and I'm going to start my car at the 0, and I'm going to see about how long it is. Now we knew when we were using my thumbs that it was a little over 2, and you can see it's about 2.5 when I measure it. Is that too far off? Not too far off, okay? So we are about 2 inches long. It's closer to about 2.5, but it's definitely about. It's not exactly 2. It's close to it, okay? Now, breaking out the ribbon. When I measure my ribbon, I want to see about how long it is. Now, if I'm going to measure my arm length to be the same as a ruler is about from my elbow to, remember, the palm of my hand. So I'm going to start there, and I'm going to measure that, and then I'm going to start this, and I'm going to measure here. That's the second one. And then I'm going to start here again, and I'm going to measure back out. And that's going to be about, how many chunks of that did I do? I did 3, okay? That ribbon, I got lots of it, guys. Okay, so my ribbon, and I had to pull it straight. My ribbon, we said, was about 3 arm lengths long. So if it's about 3 arm lengths, about how many feet should it be? It should be about 3 feet. Let's check it. Now, it was kind of hard for me to do that, wasn't it? So instead of doing my ruler, I'm going to break out my yardstick and see if that helps me a little bit better. So I'm going to go to my inches side of my yardstick. This is my yardstick. It's got 36 inches at the end of it. I had to check because my meter stick is longer than my yardstick, but they look very similar. Now, when I measure this, it's about, 3 feet would be about 36 inches, okay? It's not exactly, it's a hair short, isn't it? But it is almost 3 feet long, or 36 inches. Now, it is about an inch short, which is pretty close when it comes to a foot. Okay, so about 3 feet long, or about 3 arm lengths. Remember, as you're using your body benchmarks, not only do we want to use it to help us estimate how long something is, but we do want to make sure we double check what we're measuring. Now, how did they measure up? Were they pretty close? Yeah, they were pretty close. Now, do you think if I was going to use my body measurement, would my chart here, how would I measure my chart? Would I want to measure it in pinkies? Would I want to measure it in thumbs? Would I want to measure it in arm lengths? How would I measure this chart? How would I measure this? What do you think? If you think pinkies, raise your hand. I don't see a whole lot of pinkies. That would take a while. 1, 2, 3. What would how about inches or thumbs? No? Right, what about arm measurements? Okay, so do you think, can I ask you, do you think it's going to be closer to 1 arm measurement or 2? 1 or 2? Ooh, if it's long, it's going to be probably closer to 2. What if I measure it like this? Ooh, closer to 1. Is it closer to a yard long? Like, if I put my arms out like this, would it be like that? No. So we also use our body measurements to say, is it closer to a centimeter, an inch, a foot, Or is it even closer to a yard or a meter? Now, I would love for you to go on a scavenger hunt with your independent practice today and look for things and try to measure them with I want you to measure 2 different things with your pinkies, 2 different things with your thumbs, and I like to measure 2 different things with your arm, okay? And then I want you to follow up and check it with your actual standard units of measure and see how close you are when you are doing estimating measurement with your body benchmarks. Happy measuring, friends. I cannot wait for you to share with me the things that you're measuring. Remember, you can measure anything: cups, water bottles. You can measure string, scissors. You can measure books. You can measure your shoe. You could measure a marker, Post-its. You can measure all sorts of things. I even found my son's watch and decided it was about an inch long, because the face of it was about an inch long because my thumb fits over it. So I want you to go on a scavenger hunt. I don't think you'll have a hard time finding things at all. 2 things to measure as centimeters. And remember, you might have to use more than 1 pinky to be precise. Find some things that you can measure with your thumb measurement, and it can be more than 1. When I was thinking about my Post-its here, it's more than 1 thumb measurement. It's actually 2. So measure some things that maybe make you do multiple thumb measurements, multiple or more than 1 pinky measurement, and try to do some of these guys. These are pretty tricky ones. And if you needed somebody to help you, holler out to somebody at home or your teacher at school. Happy measuring, friends. I cannot wait to see what you send me.